Hey guys, what's up? Ollie here. I had a few questions from my last video about sort of what talents and stuff to use for Fire Mage when in PvP. So I'm just going to quickly go over my gear and talent setup for PvP. So on the Fire Mage, you want to come on here. This is your standard like sort of PvE AoE setup. And when you want to change to PvP, you switch over to Ring of Frost. So Fire Starter, Shimmer, Rune of Power, or Incanted Flow. If you're confident with your burst windows, use Rune of Power. If you want more sustained damage through a fight, use Incanted Flow. This is probably better for something like Freeze, but for 2s I usually use this, or maybe BGs you want to use something like this. But when you want to just delete people in 2s, I use Rune of Power, ground myself, and just eviscerate people. Uh, Living Bomb and Meteor. These are the talents I use in PvP. Um, these work for me. For these sort of talents, I use Pyrokinesis. Fireball reduces the cooldown, so you're spamming fireballs whenever your combustion's on cooldown. Then you have Tinder. Tinder will, if you cast your first fireball in 8 seconds, it will just do increased damage, just a nice little bit of extra damage. And Kleptomania is spell still really good against mages or druids, for example, still heals and things like that. Maybe against priests as well if you want to take a um, PI off of someone, things like that. It's really useful. So these are the two abilities I usually swap around and change quite often if I ever need to change talents. Um, Change talent, Flame Cannon's quite a good one as well. So after standing still for in combat for 2 seconds, your maximum health increases by 3%, damage done increases by 3%, and range of fast spells increases by 3 yards. So it's just like a little bit of extra damage. Some people use Greater Pyroblast. I don't really like this ability anymore, but if you're in Freeze or BGs, it can be a useful thing just to free cast at like really tanky people. Um, Dampen Magic can be good against certain comps as well. That's good as Prismatic Cloak is good for min-maxing against like a Warlock or um, other classes. So you shimmer, and then obviously you would take 50% less magical damage from a Chaos Bolt. Things like that, for example, it's very useful for. So I'd maybe take that in that setup. However, that takes a lot of like min-maxing and like learning people's abilities and other classes what the threats are, so it's more maybe a thing of it for like an advanced guide rather than just a beginner one like this kind of is. So yeah, they're the kind of main talents. These are like my default I go to kind of thing. um, and then what you want to do, as if you guys have seen my PvP video, you would have seen this, but for like burst windows, in PvE you're maximizing your Pyroblasts with Phoenix Flames, but in PvP it's more important to get faster bursts. So what you want to do is you want to have Triune Ward, which I haven't even crafted yet because this is a new Fire Mage, but Triune Ward is the best legendary that you can get. So you want to have this legendary on, and you just want to basically keep applying your shields 25 seconds before the arena starts, and then once you're in the arena you can apply them again earlier if you need to. This also provides a really good when you have Triune Ward, it provides a buffer to make it really hard for other mages to steal your combustion if they're not running Kleptomania. And then you've also got some other classes which can take abilities and dispel abilities off of you, so it's good just to have like a buffer zone of abilities they can take. And then it's pretty hard for people like a Demon Hunter can just dispel an ability off of you. But if you've got like Arcane Intellect and your Triune Ward, it's very unlikely that they'll get the combustion. I'm currently using the Disciplinary Command, which is my PvE trinket, because I'm running lots of raids and Mythic Dungeons at the moment. So before I start rotations, I try to always get off my trinket in any situation. But when I'm trying to do a proc of Disciplinary Command, I'll get my trinket off, get my Frost Nova off, then I'll head into my combustion, or I'll use some other ability like Rune of Power and thing if my combustion's on cooldown to proc Disciplinary Command to keep my damage up. Living Bomb is like I'm still getting used to using this. Like I put it on X because I barely ever use this ability. I need to learn how to use it better. But yeah, so Ring of Frost is probably my favorite ability on Mage in PvP. Um, so if you can't polymorph a target, you Ring of Frost the target. So if I show you a standard rotation, I would probably Ring of Frost, and obviously Ring of Frost in Disciplinary Command counts for your Frost spell, so you can just do um, Frost and then into Trinket, straight into your Combust. So what I like to do usually for my rotation is I go in with a Cone of Cold, which will CC the target. I know that's not CCing the target, but for example, like if he moved into it or whatever, it would CC the target. and then you want a meteor, and then just before you want to try to combust, and then do this, bang bang, get your burst off, use your fire, use those, then use your Phoenix Flames, just to finish them off. Boom. And you can see, even without using my disciplinary command, we were doing like 12k. So that's just an example. If your trigger's on cooldown, what you can kind of do. But yeah, we're doing a huge damage burst there. We've got like 175k damage burst. And then when you're on cooldowns, you just spam fireball. If you get a proc, boom, like that. So that is pretty simple. That's the rotation. You want to just keep that going. Right, so let's have a look. I will show you guys next the conduits to use for PvP. If you have ice block heal, it's really good for twos. I don't have that conduit yet, but it heals you for like 50% of your 60% of your HP while in ice block. This is your PvP tree that you want to use. So you've got Pod Tender, Tempest Barrier, Infernal Cascade, Soothing Voice, Controlled Destruction, Diverted Energy, Somnambulist. What the hell? After specificity, and Shifting Power puts flies at your feet, which increase your haste by 10%. So you've got these abilities here, really good for PvP. I mean, feel free. I think all the trees on Mage are pretty good. Pod is pretty valuable to have just because it will save you every now and then, especially in BGs. Like if you're in a big team fight and you go down, this will just most likely bring you back up. Most useful abilities and tips and tricks I can give. Tips and tricks are like the last sort of thing I can give you um, is save your ice block for as long as you can. Use shifting power as much as you can when combustion and fire blast is off of cooldown. Mirror images are powerful defensive, so save those until you need them, but they're also very good offensive because they keep the target running around very slowly without you having to 1.7 cast a Frostbolt. Always try and use your Badge of Ferocity, which I'm still practicing on, like always keeping that up when your burst is going to happen. And Alter Time is probably one of your most powerful defensives. It's on a 1 minute cooldown, and you can use it to absorb basically your HP's damage. So I can absorb 34,000 damage with Alter Time as long as I use it correctly every minute, which is insane. That requires a lot of practice, but it is probably, apart from Ring of Frost, it's one of my favorite abilities because it, you can use it and you can just completely like annihilate people. You can also cancel it as well. You can cancel the Alter Time, so you don't have to go back to the location it was on if you find that you have decent HP and you're in a new position. What else? That's pretty much it. Living bombs just a little bit of extra damage if all your other stuff's on cooldown and there's like people grouped up together. Then there's no reason not to just use that because it will spread fire damage to different people. Yeah, Meteor's an awesome ability. Always buff Arcane Intellect. Always take some food because if you invisibility at some point, pull off an invisibility to break combat, or you break combat just by walking away, you can eat back to full pretty easily. Sheep's awesome. Spam that on people for cross TC. That's about it for tips and tricks. If you've got any questions, go in the comments. I'll reply to everything, and I'll make another video if it's needed, but should be good.